Students, now as I had promised, I come to the first part of the structure of an atom. Now the first part of structure of an atom actually deals with the theories behind the structure of atom and also the characteristics of cathode rays, anode rays, electrons, protons, neutrons. Now one thing that you need to understand is that atomic structure is strictly a recapitulation of whatever you have studied in class 8. The only part that is new in class 9 is bonding. Other than that, the first part of the chapter is completely a recapitulation. So I will go a little fast with this part, and please ensure, even if you do not have your class 9 textbooks, go through your class 8 textbook, learn everything and solve the question and answers there. So let's start. I have divided the first part, structure of an atom, into 4 major topics, that is Dalton's theory, Thomson's model, Rutherford's model and Bohr's model. All of it you are aware of from class 8. Now I will not recapitulate Dalton's theory because that is very basic and I think you all are aware of it more than me. I'll directly start with J.J. Thomson's plum pudding model. Now that is also something that you are strictly aware of. I have drawn the structure of the atom as proposed by J.J. Thomson. Now what did he say? What he said is, what I have done, I have written the key words in the form of points. In the book you will get a proper explanation, but if you understand this, these remain your keywords. So what he said is, an atom is spherical in shape. That's obvious. That was also said by Dalton. The second thing that he said is, majority of the space inside an atom is vacant. That is, it is vacant space, empty space without carrying anything. And there are negative charges embedded or distributed arbitrarily inside an atom. Now the important word here is arbitrarily. What does the word arbitrarily mean? Basically, arbitrarily means anywhere and everywhere. So what he tried to say is, there's a spherical shaped thing which has inside which there is a lot of vacant space, empty space, and there are negative charges. He even did not use the word electrons. It later on came to be known as electrons. These negative charges are embedded or distributed arbitrarily anywhere, anyhow inside the atom. So that was his theory. Now what are the limitations of that theory? Now when I use the word limitations, what I mean is, what are the disadvantages of that theory? Advantage, definitely, yes, he gave us some idea about the atom. He gave us some idea about the electron, presence of an electron. But there are a lot of, there are 2 major disadvantages of this theory. The disadvantages include, the first point, there's no mention of protons as well as neutrons. In fact, I have not written neutrons. In fact, even neutrons. So this man, this scientist did not talk of the presence of protons or neutrons. He could only assess the presence of negative charges or electrons. And the second and the most important limitation or disadvantage has to be that he said that the atomic mass does not match with, we finally saw that the atomic mass does not match with the theoretical value. So what I mean is, if I take this particular structure as the final one, and if I find out the atomic mass, what will I do? I'll just add up the masses of the electrons. But what the scientists saw is, the original mass of an atom is much more than only the mass of the electrons. Isn't it natural? It's simply because he did not consider the protons and neutrons. So what happens to their mass? He did not even know that there is a proton and neutron. So obviously there is no question of, calculating their mass, and hence the mass that was calculated from his particular model or his theoretical model was not actually the mass of an atom, of that particular atom. So hence the 2 disadvantages are no mention of protons and neutrons, and of course a fallacy in the atomic mass calculation, that is the original mass or the practical experimental atomic mass was much more than the theoretical atomic mass. So this is all that you need to know about Thomson's plum pudding model, the main model, the diagram, what he wanted to say about it, and what are the limitations of that model.